So I do once again just want to welcome everybody to our live conference call-in for the Pirelli World Challenge Series. I want to welcome Scott Beauvais, President and CEO, Greg Gill, our Vice President of Marketing and Communications. My name is Jeff Lepper. I'm the series announcer. We have Matt Kistler, the head honcho, as we call him, at NASportscar. Check it out at North American Sports Car. Go to NASportscar.com for all the latest sports car racing news, including coverage of Pirelli World Challenge. I got to start off with just a couple questions, and I'll direct those first off at Mr. Scott Beauvais. Scott, big announcement you made for the 2015 season. Can you just tell some of our listeners about the new class in GT called GT Cup? Give us an update on that.
Well, great. Thanks, Jeff. We have been working on finding a way to tackle a couple of issues. One, to further our development in partnership with Porsche Motorsports North America, and two, to bring the 991 Cup car to the series. And there really wasn't a home for the Cup car because it was not classed correctly for GT, and it was not classed correctly for GTS. So it became a natural thought process over the past year and a half or so that Greg and I went through finding a way that we can introduce this car, which is an important platform. A lot of cars in club racing, a lot of cars on the professional level. So bring in GT Cup, 991 Cup cars, stock Cup cars, as run in the Super Cup Series. No modifications allowed, and those we will run somewhere between 10 and 15. Right now it's looking like 12 or 13 cars will run inside of the GT class. Serves a couple of purposes. Since we have pulled GTS out of GT, and GTS will run its own race on the same weekend with its own television package, and then we can talk more about that as we get into this, Jeff. One of the downsides was the fans have said, well, we really like to see cars passing cars. We'd like to see, even though it is a Mustang getting passed by a Ferrari, fans like to see cars being passed. So these Cup cars, Porsche Motorsports and us have worked this, that the Cup cars will be fast, will be within a couple of seconds of the GT cars, but there will be a lot of passing going on. You'll have GTA cars passing Cup cars. You'll have GT cars passing GTA cars. So we're delivering to the fans what the fans are asking for while we're able to develop our relationship with Porsche Motorsports, while we're able to develop a ladder system for future GT drivers, which is important for the future of our business. So that's where we stand.
Well, that's a good insight into this new category of class of car in the GT Cup. Going to Greg Gill. Greg, we talked just before we started the show officially here about the schedule. Tell us some of the highlights that you see in the 2015 schedule for Pirelli World Challenge now.
Thanks, Jeff. I appreciate that. I think the exciting thing for us is there's been a long-time partnership with our friends at IndyCar, and our racers and fans have appreciated that. However, we've also seen tremendous growth, and out of that growth, fans have said, when can you do your own headliner event? I'm here, and I want to see sports car racing at its best. Out of that, we've grown some standalone events where we'll be the headliners, starting off at Circuit of the Americas. And that also gave us the opportunity, I think, as a backup point, Jeff, is that we wanted to make sure that iconic tracks, at the very early part of the conversation, we were kind of joking about, ice racing at Nelson Ledges. But as an example, though, people wanted us to be back at Circuit of the Americas. How could we get there? We were able to do a standalone event and then finish the season again as a headliner event at Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca. So with that two kind of bookends of opening and closing the series, we also go to Road America with, again, that headliner event. So we're at these iconic tracks that our fans can relate to, and really there's going to be a tremendous experience. And finally, going north again, we'll have Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, where the Canadian fans have been fantastic, and again, will be the headliner event and allow us the time to get the racing going on. All of our classes of racing being there. It's going to be a fantastic fan experience. We're very excited about that for 2015.
Absolutely. Once again, streamed live at worldchallengetv.com.
Jeff, this is Scott again. And Greg, the success that we had at Miller Motorsports Park sort of drove us to answer the fans' question about having more standalone events because of our success of promoting that event and promoting ticket sales and also finding room for almost 100 cars, which we'll have with all of our classes.
And thank you, Scott. That's a great point.
Exciting 2015 here. I know I do see Jeff Carter on the line, and Jeff Carter, one of the big news has to come out this past week, and that's been on NASportscar and some of the other media announcements there, was the announcement of Turner Motorsports coming back in with that brand new BMW Z4 GT3 that are on their way. Tell us about your process of getting that car into the series and adding another marquee manufacturer to Pirelli World Challenge.
Yeah, thanks for that, Jeff. We here at World Challenge, we really pride ourselves on our relationship with our manufacturers, and when you have such incredible growth over the last couple of years, especially with our GT3 cars, the inclusion of so many more manufacturers, there's certain brands that you, in my opinion, and I know Scott's a BMW guy, you have to have certain brands when you have a GT class in your series. You have to have Porsche, you have to have a Ferrari, to have a McLaren, a Bentley, and I know I'll probably not mention everybody, but to have guys like Nissan and now to include BMW, we've been working on it for frankly, Scott, about 18 months now, with different potential teams to come over from Europe, and I've met with Will Turner a few times, met with him down at the Petit Le Mans, and the climate is right for not only Turner Motorsports but for some other teams to come and race with us here in World Challenge. So we're really excited to have BMW and one more marquee manufacturer join the series in our GT3 ranks. It's a credit to what Scott and Greg have put together, and it shows the value of and the relevancy of our manufacturers. So we're really happy about that.
Yeah, great, exciting stuff, new stuff coming into the series. I also want to welcome 7-time Pirelli World Challenge driver champion, numerous manufacturers championships, all brought through the Honda and Acura brand, Peter Cunningham. Peter, are you there? And say hi.
Sorry, I had to take it off of mute. I am here.
All right. Well, thank you so much. And I believe we also have Johnny O'Connell, our reigning GT champion from Cadillac CTSVR. Johnny, are you here? Not sure if Johnny got a chance to call in yet and notice or not, but I'm going to go ahead and sort of pass this over. Matt Kistler from NASportscar.com came up with the idea of having an open conference call roundtable here, and he's actually had some questions there. So, Matt, I'll ask that you address who that question is going to be to, and then we'll go ahead and get started with our Q&A session here. So, Matt, it's all yours, bud.
All right, thanks a lot. So yeah, we have a few questions here that have come up on the message boards, comments on the website, and also just some fan-submitted questions here from the call-in form. First, I'll go over to Scott. We're curious, who is the idea man for the series? Like, who had the idea of bringing the GT3 cars and now GT Cup cars to the series?
We go to ideaman.com and we submit and they submit all of our. That's actually interesting. You went down right to that question, and because Greg and I had just talked about this the other day. This unfortunately touches on some other questions because we talk about strengths to weaknesses of the series, and I wouldn't touch on that quite yet, but. Greg and I and Jeff Lepper and Dave Drimmy and the rest of the owners group and World Challenge staff, I believe that what makes us what we are is that we have a system in place where we meet regularly on the phone. None of us work out of an office. We don't have offices located in any particular area. We all work out of home offices. So that gives us a unique opportunity, but also puts some restrictions on our ability to have regular meetings. So we talk probably 3 or 4 times a day. At least Greg and I do, and Jeff and I talk a couple times a day. And we have meetings on the phone, conference calls, and we go through ideas, and we bring up ideas, and I would say half of them don't make it to the table, and the other half make it into the sort of tumbler, and we round around, and we come up with these ideas sort of as a group about what we feel will work and what we feel isn't going to work. And if we have an idea or two that we feel makes it to that sort of finalist list, we might go out to our favorite teams and drivers, and we might ask Peter Cunningham, hey, Peter, what do you think about this schedule issue? Or, hey, Peter, what do you think about this? And even though Peter is one of the investors in WC Vision, he's not involved because he is racing. He's not involved in any of the decision making, which is good for the business. So we bring him in because he has lots of experience. So there really is no idea man. I think Greg and Jeff might argue that it is one person or another, but I think we all do a really good job of coming up with ideas, finding solutions to the problems that we've got, and that's what we're all here for. We're all here for contribution to the team. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, definitely. That's great. Kind of going off of that a little bit, we'll kind of direct this one to Greg. Going into 2014, did you expect the series to gain as much attention as in popularity as it has, or was it a surprise? What were your thoughts on that?
You know, I love the expression, the harder you work, the luckier you get. And there's a flip side to that. And today, just before this call, and I wasn't able to tell Scott, an OE sent over a text message to me, and we'll say it's a European OE, and I won't out anybody beyond that. But they said, you know, fantastic announcements about the series. You know, kudos to you guys. And by the way, don't let it go to your head. And I just came back. I said, here's assurances. We work very hard. We've planned for this. We built for it. Scott last year in December got on the phone with Jeff Carter and I, and he said, guys, this is going to be an exciting year. And I can probably find the day on my calendar. And he called both of us, and he said, this is it. We're going the right direction. We've built to this point. It's going to be a great year. Now let's make sure we apply these things to it. And Peter Cunningham had that same advice for Jeff and I as we were walking around the Detroit Auto Show, the North American Auto Show, and it was a great moment last year, or earlier this year, I should say. And again, it was the same way. We are very proud of the success we've had, but we recognize that it's a team effort, and it can so easily change that you have a humbleness about it. So you're very thankful for the success. You did plan for it. We did build for it. I don't think any successful racer ever says, you know, I'm planning for a 10th place this weekend. You plan to win, and that's the way this team has been built. So to answer shortly, there's a joy in the success, but it was planned for, and we don't take it for granted. And we're looking, you know, Scott has an expression that he likes to point out. He goes, you know, I look to you and Jeff Carter to handle 2015. I'm already thinking about 2016 and 2017. And I think that's one of the, as much as Scott gives credit to all of us, I believe he's got that visionary and that long-term view that helps drive the series.
Yeah, and if I can jump in, Greg, again, this is Scott. One of the analogy you just made about a team, you go to a race weekend, you prepare your team, you prepare your car, and you hope you're going to win. You put your plan together, and here's your strategy, whatever that strategy might be, and you hope you're going to win. And you feel you got a good top 5 car, and you got a top 3 driver, and you have a top 2 team, and holy crap, you end up winning. And you're not surprised you won, because you prepared to win, but you went there to win. So where I'm going with this is kudos to the team for 2014 and looking forward to 2015 being even better.
Hey, Scott, can I jump in to just give one more thought on that?
Absolutely.
You know,
it's not my meeting.
See how he's got us trained. But no, I just wanted to point out that from my standpoint, obviously the success or the perceived success or the excitement, success or excitement is it's a byproduct of the hard work that Greg talked about. But from my standpoint, with my area of responsibility in the company and in the series, it isn't perfect every single week internally, and we've just got our head down, working as hard as we can to make the next race better than the one we just soaked from. And so instead of actually believing all the stuff that we read and what we see, I'm usually and Scott's for those of you that know him or don't know him, he's a bit of a taskmaster, and he works us hard because we all strive to be better. And so working as hard as we do, really see the success per se, because we're just trying to tick boxes and make things better. And improve our processes and our procedures and get the right people doing the right things. And, when you do that day in and day out, 24/7, 365, it's just a way of life that you just push forward and try to make it better every single day.
Great, thank you. So let's send some questions over to the drivers on the line. Peter, we'll start with you. You've obviously had a lot of success with the WC spec cars, we'll call them, and now there's the FIA GT3s that are kind of taking over the GT class. Obviously, how important do you think it is for the series to keep the World Challenge spec available to its competitors?
Well, I would say that we're kind of in a transition period. I think GT3 is the future. The non-GT3 cars that have competed are kind of drying up. We're not sure exactly, what Cadillac's plans are, but we know what they're rumored to be doing. So really, other than some occasional competitors with the World Challenge spec car, the pair of Acuras we plan to run in 2015 may be, some of the only World Challenge spec cars available. But even within the GT3 ranks, minor tweaking to the balance performance, may be required there to maintain parity in North America on the North American tracks. So really, the technical department of the Pirelli World Challenge, has a difficult task in that procedure to keep the GT3 cars balanced, and certainly to have a non-GT3 car in there will also be a challenge. But it's what they do, and it'll be our job to put our best foot forward, and it'll be the technical department's job to look at the different performance parameters that have been displayed on track and take away or give performance in this area or that area to improve parity amongst the cars.
Hey, Matt, while Peter was talking, I called the bat phone and got a hold of Johnny O'Connell and pulled him in. Johnny, are you there?
Yeah, no, I'm here, guys. Sorry I'm late. I had a faulty code getting in this conference call. So, but glad to join everybody.
Johnny actually does have a bat phone. Peter's is red and Johnny's is black. So, Matt,
Johnny to be red.
Johnny should be red. Yeah, it should be. Matt Kissler, Johnny O'Connell.
Hey, Matt.
Johnny, nice to meet you.
Good to meet you.
So we can kind of, we'll just give you Peter's question again, since you've obviously had a lot of success also with the World Challenge spec cars, and obviously with the GT3s coming in. What do you kind of feel about the importance of the series of keeping the World Challenge spec available to its competitors, or taking over the shift to the FIA GT3s?
Well, no, especially since, Petey's, they built that new Acura, and of course us with the Cadillac, you like to leave that open as an option. The challenge for the series is, of course, the BOP, the balance of performance, equating those cars to where the GT3 cars are. And, and that's not an easy thing. And, So, but to me, it's like the more the merrier, and the more competition, the better the teams. I think the stronger and better the series is, and I think all you got to look is really, last year was certainly a breakout year, but the previous 3 years I've been in the series, there's been growth and excitement growing within the series, every single year, and I think that.
What the hell?
Yep.
Wonder if we lost Johnny O'Connell. You still there, Johnny?
Oh, I'm back. I'm still here. Are you guys there?
There we go.
Oh, what happened there? Okay.
Oh,
that's all about.
Okay, am I on? My phone started.
Yes.
You are.
I can hear you.
You are.
Yeah.
You're good.
I got to tell you, it has been just phenomenal, the growth that I've seen in my 4 years involved with the series, and you know what, and you knew the opportunity existed when ALMS and Grand Am merged. You're like, man, this is golden opportunity, and the series has seized upon it. Where all the competitors are excited about what's going on, the opportunities, the quality of the teams, the beautiful cars. And it is a series where, if you have success, if you do well, if you get on the podium, it means something. And so, when you start seeing Bentley getting in a big way with teams like Dyson, you hear about Pickett, all these teams that are now, that are like looking at World Challenge as this is where we want to run. I say it's mission accomplished for what the series has been striving to be, and what I've always thought and wanted it to be, which is, the best, sports car racing, going on in North America.
I was wondering if I could just weigh in here.
Go for it.
Just to go on off what Johnny said, I would definitely say that it has grown since the merger. I remember tuning in to watch the second race, and the stream almost crashed on my end, and I was back at school and had incredible internet. And the amount of fans that I had talking on the YouTube live chat was amazing. I'd never seen anything like it before.
I guess it's more.
That was Patrick from NASportscar.
Oh, sorry about that.
And we will open the floor up at the end of the questions that we have pre-submitted to questions from other members that are on, fans that have logged in. So we will do that, open up, and we'll continue that. Once again, my name is Jeff Lepper. If you're just joined in, we haven't had a chance to welcome you. I know we got a few new clicks. This is our live roundtable for Pro World Challenge. Once again, we have Scott Beauvais, President and CEO of Pro World Challenge, Craig Gill, the Vice President of Marketing and Communications, Jeff Carter, our Competition Director, 7-time Pro World Challenge champion Peter Cunningham, and now 3-time Pro World Challenge Johnny O'Connell, and the Cadillac on the line as well. So Matt Kissler from NASportscar.com sort of asking our questions right now to our drivers, and I know there's still a long list here of some questions from Matt. So Matt, go ahead.
Yep. Peter and Johnny both mentioned BOP, the balance of performance. So this kind of goes to Jeff Carter. How does World Challenge deal with BOP issues, and how do you guys manage to keep it out of the headlines in the news?
It's a great question. We have over the last 3 years, we have developed a pretty good process for evaluating all of our cars. We have a data system in all the cars, and our series engineer, Kevin Fandozzi, has taken a big role and has developed quite a bit of advanced metrics and ways of analyzing the performance of the cars, not only from a data standpoint, timing and scoring standpoint. We look at all kinds of stuff. So I think the reason, and I thought it's funny that this comes up, so I was thinking about this the other day. The reason that we don't have a bunch of people that our BOP isn't in the headlines is because it's pretty darn good. And I know in the last 2 days I've had with Scott and with Kevin, we've had 5 major manufacturer BOP phone calls regarding 2015 just in the last 48 hours. We have an extensive off-season program to evaluate the current balance performance, where we want to take the series moving forward. And so that, too, is something that never stops. And while I know Johnny and Peter, at times as drivers and team owners, sometimes fall on the unfriendly side of a performance level for this track or that track. I think when you back the microscope out to what Scott likes to say, a 30,000-foot level, our balance of performance is very transparent. It's solid. It's justifiable. And we have a great process that keeps us on the straight and narrow with our teams, our drivers, our manufacturers and to your point, our fans, because it does typically stay out of the headlines, thank goodness.
All right, well, thanks a lot. So we'll go back over to a question for Scott here. You mentioned in an interview with 365, it was possible for other one-make series to join the GT Cup class in the future. What other one-make series could you imagine fitting into GT Cup?
Scott, are you on the line?
Perfect time to not be there, huh? Greg, why don't you jump in on that one?
So, all right, now I'm back.
Okay, there it is. Scott, did you hear Matt's question?
Actually, I was since we got disconnected, I called Johnny back in, so Johnny's back with us, and we're back on.
I am back.
So I did not hear the question. Sorry, Matt. Go ahead again.
So the follow up is from the SportsCar 365 interview that you did, talking about the possibility of other single marks joining the series and having other single marks supporting racing in the series. What would be a single mark that you would envision in the series next?
Well, the comment that I had made was more general. The reason why we called this the classification GT Cup was not because we didn't want to have Porsche GT3 Cup as the name of the class, to allow other Cup type cars in the future, like Ferrari Challenge, like Maserati Cup, like Aston Martin GT4 Cup, and other Cup type cars. So there was a sort of a request from other manufacturers that at some point in 2016 they would like to also compete in a Cup type class. So we left it open for future sort of discussions, and I envision several manufacturers with cars factory built to be competing in a GT Cup class. But for 2015, it will be Porsche GT3 Cup cars.
Great, thanks. So it's kind of back to Jeff Carter here, talking about GT4. We did a comparison on NASportscar about GTS regulations and compared those to the FIA GT4 regulations. How close do you see those being, and were the GTS regulations written off of GT4 in any way, or how do they relate?
No, Matt, the GTS class was developed before on board, and that was for me in 2012. It is a bit of a coincidence that the GT4 homologated car are very, very, very close. In fact, the Aston Martin that you saw win with Nick Asayan on Saturday at Miller Motorsports Park was in fact a GT4 homologated Aston Martin. So they are not very far apart at all, if at all. So it speaks to the level of performance in our GTS class, and I wouldn't speak to where we're going moving forward, but the GT4 homologations, we've seen that the GT3 homologations, the FIA GT3 cars in our GT class have been a very, very wonderful addition to the series with the amount of documentation that goes into it. I think that moving forward you'll see more and more GT4 homologated cars knocking on the door to come race with us, and I think we would certainly welcome the opportunity to discuss that moving forward.
Great, thank you. So we can kind of open this to any of you guys who want to answer this. Let's start with Scott. What do you see as Pirelli World Challenge's two greatest strengths, and what are its two biggest weaknesses?
Yeah, that's a tough one. Well, I think I'll start off with the strengths. Our strength is recognizing who our customer is. And it's a simple business. Even though we're in the motorsports business, we're really in the entertainment business. And entertaining our customers is important. So I guess firsthand, our strength is understanding where our customer is, following the money trail right back to the fan who comes to the race, back to the people following on social media, right back partners, sponsors, etc. So I think our understanding of our business is probably one of our strengths. It's got to be our key. Being quick to react to changes. Yeah. If there, by the way, if I hear a background noise in the background, if you guys could put your button on, I'm not sure who's making all the background noise, but understanding our customer and being able to react quickly to changes, because the marketplace does change. TV packages change, social media changes. The whole industry changes very quickly. So I think being a relatively small group, being a group that communicates on the same wavelength regularly, those are great strengths of ours. And recognizing our weakness, I think, is a strength. And our weakness is that a lot of fans don't necessarily know who we are. I was surprised to read some of the comments about Pirelli World Challenge. Wow, where did they come from? Wow, what is Pirelli World Challenge? Even though we've been around for 25 years, we just finished our 25th year of World Challenge competition. We've gone through a series of changes: Speed Vision World Challenge, Speed World Challenge, going back even further back to the history of where World Challenge started. So our weakness is probably the lack of maybe some of the fans not knowing who we are, which is something we're working on overcoming, which is what Greg's task is. And I think our second weakness, since you put me on the gun here, probably is our not having our standalone events has been a comment that has been made. We've listened to the customers, our sponsors, drivers, teams, about the need for us to have standalone events, the need for us to be a promoter of our own event. Once you are the promoter of an event and you supply TV to your support races and you are the main event, you reach a different level than you are being a support series. So I think breaking out of the mold of being a support series is sort of like moving out of your parents' house. It's never a good time to do it, but you do it. And this is the year that we're sort of breaking out and having 5 standalone events. So if there is a weakness, it's the fact that we haven't been experienced in having a multi-scheduled standalone events. I feel confident we've got the right team involved. I've confidence that we've got the right package, so we're ready to employ that in 2015.
Great. So we'll direct this question to Greg now. I got a ton of requests for this question, and there's always rumors about any sort of endurance World Challenges is looking towards. Is there any truth to that? Are you guys open to an endurance race? What are your guys' thoughts on endurance racing?
Well, I think, and certainly Scott and Jeff will speak to it from the competition side, but from a marketing side, this started out of this, I hate to say this rumor, but it started out of the fact that we talked about the potential of doing some back-to-back sprint races that would allow for a driver change in between them. But at no point, although the series has a history of doing some endurance racing, that is not our focus, and that is not something that's on our 2015 calendar. So, Scott, do you want to pick up on that or add anything to that?
No, I mean, I think the only thing I would like to add, and thanks for giving me a chance here, is that this was posed to us very simply by fans who emailed us directly, by our sponsors who asked us specifically, and by some of our manufacturer OEM partners who said, hey, you may want to think about having some endurance racing. So this wasn't, Jeff or Greg or anyone coming to say, hey, we should do this. So we have a history of listening to our customers. We also have a history of making sure we sort of filter out the things we do and don't want to do. So in our manufacturer meeting in August at Mid-Ohio, we brought this up to all 19 OEM partners, and it was decided amongst the group that there were a couple of people who thought it would be a great idea, but it was decided that no, this isn't what we want to do. it's certainly not what we want to do internally, but having back-to-back sprint races or an extended sprint race format in the future is not out of the question, but endurance racing as we all know it is not what we want to do.
Okay, great. Thanks for clearing that up. Appreciate that. So I guess one more question before we open the floor to some of the fan questions. Obviously, GT and GTS grids grew tremendously this year. Are there any plans or changes in the works for the touring car classes to help growth in touring car and solidify your ladder system?
Hey, Jeff, do you mind talking about some of the new cars coming in?
Yeah, no problem, Scott. Yeah, I've spent a lot of time talking to touring car competitors, the Don Inchooks of the world. I just spoke with him today, as a matter of fact. I have been very almost too transparent in saying that when Scott tasked Greg and I on that day that Greg referenced earlier about 2014 and saying, Scott told me we need 18 GT3 cars, and Jeff, that's your deal. Make it happen. And we were lucky enough and fortunate enough through our hard work to have, I think, an average of 24, if not a high of 26 for the year. So having said that, there was this perception that we had forgotten about our touring car classes, and in fact, I'm going to ask Greg to give the specifics on the packages, and maybe even Jeff Lepper, the TV packages and the coverages and the enhancements moving forward. But we see great value in our touring car classes. I have been, I've taken on a lot of responsibility, not necessarily done the best at accomplishing all the goals that I set and that Scott set for us, just because of the workload. And so we have been tasked this year, as we were last year with GT3, with building our touring car classes. And so we're excited about what happened with the Skull Candy Nissans coming over at the end of the year. They stuck their toe in the water. They loved it. They're coming back for a full-time effort. We see some ST quality caliber cars that want to come over and run with us. And so we originally started this TCA as a bridge from TCB to TC or to GTS, and in the end, we weren't sure whether TC was going to stay or TCA was going to stay, and it looks like they're both here to stay. And so as we go through our off-season analysis, which Kevin and I and Scott are in the middle of, understanding the performance levels of TC and TCA, aligning the manufacturers and saying, hey, this manufacturer will prefer this class or that class. So we're in the process of formulating exactly what the performance envelope is going to look like. But to have a Porsche Cayman and a Porsche Boxster, to have the Nissans come in, we have a lot of excitement. We've got some BMW excitement in the TC class. The Kias had a wonderful first year in TCA, and so lots of exciting stuff moving forward. Not quite ready to just tell you all about it, but certainly that should be enough of a teaser for 2015.
Hey, Greg, you want to go over TV for TC?
Yeah, thank you, and Jeff, thanks for that pickup on that too, because it was something that, as we were talking about, and I think it speaks to the whole conversation about where do ideas come from and how do things go forward with the class and what do we do, and we did last year at the SEMA show present the TCA class and talked about what we were going on with it, and by the time we got to Barber and we were racing, Scott Beauvais said, hey, take a look at this is exciting racing. The fans are loving it. What about doing a separate TV show and developing it? And so we went and developed a separate 1-hour broadcast for each of our TC races, was enthusiastically supported by the racers, and that was great on your kind of customer base, but on the fan level, it turned out to be one of the really highly rated shows on MAV TV, and we were able to get well over 1 million viewers for our TC races. So that was something that was very exciting for us, and I think we'll see this next year the same way again, dedicated TC racing, and so that the people who come up through that are not going to say, well, I got 2 minutes in the middle of a GT and GTS race. They covered my race with a highlights package. Wow, I've got a dedicated 1-hour TV program. So that's something that we're really excited about, and that's kind of our commitment. It's a rather large financial commitment on our part to do, but I think it's been well received, and it's going to be a big part of our 2015 plans as well.
Hey, Matt, this is Scott. It's sort of an impromptu question for Johnny O'Connell, who's back on with us. Johnny, you there?
Yeah, no, I'm here.
So you've been involved. You and I talk, a couple times a month about one subject or another, and I always like listening to you because you've got a great history with all the racing you've done. And I want to hear your comments on your 2014 season and how important that was to you. As a driver, you have a long resume, and I'm just I want to let the viewers hear your thoughts.
Oh, well, you know what I mean. I got to tell you, in all the things that I've done, I've been so blessed, and but yeah, this would be actually have been the 7th championship that I've won driving for General Motors, but by far the one that meant the most, the one that was the hardest, the one that we had to dig the deepest. For. I mean, it was phenomenal, and it was the first time in my life I got hate mail, and so.
Oh, you mean about your incident with Mike Skeen?
Well, you know what? I understand. I like Mike Skeen. Mike Skeen's a great race car driver, but it's not my job to let him win. And,
welcome to my world, Johnny. Welcome to the hate world.
At first, you wanted to answer these people, then you realize, how great is it that people are so passionate that they want me to die? But I mean, that is a great thing. When fans are cheering, whether it be for Mike or myself or Anthony Lazzaro or the guys in the Bentley, that's a great thing. I mean, there was so much that took place this year. We were, in the Cadillac, I got to tell you, every person on the team executed perfectly. And so I think, in watching that and having people cheer for the Bentleys or the Cadillacs or the Audis or the Ferraris, we made a ton of fans. And then, as you get to the touring car stuff, the lower category stuff, it's actually neat because my son is coming up. And so I'm looking to get my version 2.0. He's better looking and he's probably going to be faster. To get him in a seat in either TCA or TCB series, so that I can both watch him and but also I mean that's how you learn. That is definitely how you learn.
Well, great stuff. And I brought that up because I know that this year was a tough year for you personally. You've mentioned that to me a couple of times, and I think the challenges on the BOP, we're not going to go into that, but you really felt that this year you had to really work hard, and I think Jeff had made a comment to you that a championship should be hard. These things aren't easy. To win a championship, you've got to have it all together, right, Jeff?
Yeah, and I can tell you, for those of you listening, they call him Johnny Red. But when he shows up in my office and he is red, his face is red, and he's pissed. The guy, we both race. We're both passionate. But man, I saw a side of Johnny this year that I said to Scott and to Greg internally a couple of times. We're talking about this Cadillac. It does this, it does that, and I said, you know what? I want to see Johnny O'Connell get out of that car after finishing 7th. With a red face, pissed off, saying, that's all I've got. And by God, he did it a couple times this year, and he wasn't happy when he showed up in my office to talk about it. But,
If I recall, Jeff, you had commented, how long was the meeting, Johnny, with you and Jeff about the incident with Skeen? About a half hour on the phone? Longer?
Oh, yeah. No, it was a little bit longer, and I respected that. You analyze things, but I will also tell you, and there are some people that might disagree with you, the race that took place at Sears Point at Sonoma, where I was able to keep Mike behind me, I will always consider one of my best drives because I was able to keep a car that was, about 1.3 to 1.5 seconds a lap faster than me behind me. Without blocking. I mean, I defended. I changed my speed. It was like I was Yoda, and so that was
Yoda.
That was a really, really fun race. But you know what? Actually, you know what? The best thing, I recently saw my teammate Andy Pilgrim. Andy is a phenomenal race car driver and a past champion. And he's like, dude, do you even realize what you did? He's like, you know what? Most guys don't win one championship. He's like, to win 3 in a row is ridiculous. And it really, to keep that hunger alive, to keep wanting to get better, and this year made me better. It reminded me why I love this sport so much. So it was an amazing year.
Well, Johnny, Matt, Matt, I didn't mean to take your floor, but I wanted to ask Johnny just a couple of questions there. So.
No, I appreciate that.
Johnny, thank you. I just want to say, Johnny, thank you for the compliments. I know you're not complimenting me, but I feel very complimented by you saying that because you did work very hard this year, and I'm glad I was a part of it.
Well, I'm sorry for when I'm a jerk. So
better write that down.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, Matt, go ahead.
I want to thank you for the comments so far, and thank you to Matt for those questions and getting those posted out. I would like to go ahead and open the floor up for questions, and if you could ask your question to who you want to answer that question, that would also help. And I know we're going to talk over some people. That's the nature of the conference call, but if we can go ahead and if Scott, I know you're on the phone from the 205 area code. Do you have any questions right now?
Yeah, and this question would probably be directed to Scott. As far as day-to-day at the track activities, I'm a student meteorologist right now, and I'll be finishing up in the summertime, and just wondering, how do y'all handle the weather at the tracks? Do y'all have like an at-the-track person who does the radar for y'all or anything like that, kind of apps that y'all use to, keeping track with the weather?
Well, that's a great question. You're calling from Birmingham area, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so if you, Jeff Leopard, make sure that you get Scott some free tickets to our Barber race, would you?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, well, anybody that's on this call right now, you have the opportunity. My email is on the website. Greg Gill's email is on the website. Please email us. I'm sure Matt Kistler has a list of those people that signed up as well. If World Challenge is racing in your area, please contact us. 2 free tickets on Pirelli World Challenge. Come out to the track. Be there. Free tickets on us.
All that comes out of Greg Gill's budget, which we love. Thank you, Greg.
Okay, so then it's actually 10 tickets. 10 tickets per person then.
Yeah, right. And first class round trips wherever you want to go. Hey, so I guess
the weather.
If I could, Scott, if I could ask Jeff Carter to help me, because I don't get involved in the weather other than when it's raining. I wear a raincoat. So Jeff Carter, being race director and competition director, is more actively involved and has been historically in all the problems we've had this year. So Jeff, you want to jump in there?
Yeah, you bet. As you know, and I'm a bit of a weather buff myself as a pilot. And speaking of our last race at Barber this past year, as you recall, Sunday afternoon was a terrible weather day, and a front came through all the way through Wednesday the next day. I barely got myself out of there about 9 o'clock Sunday night, and when I landed in my hangar, the first thing I did was head straight to the refrigerator and have a beer. So, but specific to your question, as a pilot, I'll call and get weather briefings from the local airport, usually every morning on my way to the track, just so I understand if there are any barometric changes that we need to know about for the boosted cars. And we always have a scenario, a preset scenario. Scott and I sat down with Kevin Fandozzi and Pat DiNatale Saturday morning at St. Pete, our first race, when we knew this front was coming through. And we actually come up with a contingency of what we're going to do in terms of when it rains, how much, if it's during the race. Mid-Ohio Saturday was a prime example of we knew it was coming. So we don't necessarily, we don't have an on-site weather person. We rely heavily, our good friends at Penske with Tim Cindric, I went down on numerous occasions and went through their weather station with them. Our friends at Cadillac, they have a really good weather app that they use in-house on their timing stand. So we have some resources available to us, but my day typically starts when Jeff Lepper's not slamming my finger in the door on the way to the track. I'll pick up the phone and just call my local weather briefer and just make sure that I understand what the weather's going to be like for the day. So that's about as deep as we dig, which is deep enough for us. There is a bit of a difference of what happens on the ground as opposed to what happens in the air, but it usually starts with a daily weather briefing on the way to the track.
Hey, Scott, it sounds like you're working on a job for Pearly World Challenge meteorologist.
Well, that would be nice. I mean, weather has been a passion for, most of my life. And, back in 2011, we had a big F4 tornado come within a half a mile of my neighborhood here in Birmingham. And just my passion now is just to, make sure that people's safe when bad weather strikes. And a friend of mine who's on the call with us, Doug Schneider, we kind of do a thing for the fans where we do our weather forecast for events such as the World Challenge Series and, other series we do. And we just do that on our spare time. We don't expect anything for it. And, we just want to make sure that people knows what's going on and everything. We offer a live radar service and live updates, just in case, severe weather strikes or anything like that. And we also give a forecast leading up to the events. So
Scott and Greg, why don't you guys get together and let's put a link on our website for the event for Birmingham and add Scott's weather app to the event, and maybe we get a chance to have Scott meet Jeff, and Jeff, you can bring him over to meet the guys over at Cadillac and look at the weather station, and that'd be great. Thanks, Scott.
Scott, send me an email. gcarter@wcvision.com. Send me an email and let's keep in touch.
All right, thank you so much.
Thanks for the call.
And if I may pop in there for just 2 seconds, that weather app saved my bacon when I was at the IMSA race at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park earlier this year. So I'll vouch for using that. It's a good thing to have, and good work on it, by the way.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Scott, for that. Really appreciate it. You never know what kind of questions you're going to get asked. I know we have David Yell on the line. David, any questions that you have for anybody here on our panel? I think David he might have his phone muted.
Sorry, Jeff, can you hear me now? I had it on mute, actually.
Yeah, no problem. We really appreciate everybody muting their phones, too, until we can get a call out. But I know that you're on the phone. You went to most of the Pearly World Challenge race seasons. For those of you that don't know, David's a photographer and just does an amazing job, amazing photos. And any questions for our panel for you there, sir?
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. I just want to really also thank you and the others for all the great help you gave the media this year, and also hope to help you out a bit with the coverage of motorsport.com as well. Actually, this is a question for Scott. So I'm from Boston. Actually, the first WC race I went to was at Long Rock Park in 2013. And I must admit, it was amazing seeing all the different cars racing around Long Rock Park. I was wondering, any plans in the future for bringing a race back to Long Rock Park or another circuit in the Northeast, like for the Boston, New York, and Connecticut fans?
We were very close to sorting out a weekend at Lime Rock this year. We love Lime Rock. All the fans love Lime Rock. Our sponsors and partners love being there. However, we weren't able to come to grips with some scheduling issues, which are unfortunate. We will be readdressing that sometime around July. I think July and August. Greg and I will go through the schedule again, and we hope to return to Lime Rock. There's been some rumor about a street race in Boston that you may or may not have heard about with IndyCar. So we're excited to hear how that might go out for IndyCar, and we certainly would be a support race for that weekend. So our plans are to be a part of that. We'll love Watkins Glen. I know that's not as far east as you would like to hear, but Watkins Glen has been a track that has contacted us every single year, and we'd love to be a part of that event as well. The problem we have is that we have teams, drivers, and sponsors who says, let's try and keep the costs down for racing. We've all heard about the costs for racing. It's important we listen to the customer base. So when you start to get to sort of 9, 10, 11 events in sports car world, it becomes expensive. Each event costs each team owner $100,000 to $150,000 to be at. Those are real numbers. So we try to keep the numbers low. We've had 16 tracks contacting us, wanting us to be a part of 10 events. So we have to pick and choose, and unfortunately, some make it and some don't, and it's not because of any reason other than just this way it works out. But we're hoping Lime Rock's on the schedule for next year, and I hope that answers your question.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Scott. Thank you.
Well, thank you for that. I know we have Fred Jackson on the line, and Fred, you're joining in from the 905 area code. Just wanted to ask if you had any questions for anybody on our panel tonight.
Yeah, well, first, it's Brent Jackson. I guess I wasn't very clear on that.
I'm sorry about that. Yep,
don't worry about it. It happens.
The software for the conference call put it through as Fred, so I apologize.
Yeah, no, it's okay. It happens. My question is namely owing to the return of the series to Canadian Tire Motorsports Park next year. This is headed to Scott and the management guys. Traditionally, they've been running next to IndyCar at Exhibition Place in Toronto for the last few years. Had a hell of a race there this year, too, by the way. But is the return to CTMP a permanent deal, or is this just a one-time deal? Because IndyCar, as you guys probably know, is headed up to CTMP next year as well. So are you guys doing this on a full-time basis, or will it be returning to Toronto with the IndyCars?
Well, this is Scott. I'll answer that, and then is saying that we have had probably the largest contingent of fans contact me, and I forward them to Greg. So they inadvertently, Greg gets the email from fans that have said, "When are you coming back to CTMP?" So I think due to the overwhelming requests that we've had over the past 2 years to bring our GT and GTS class back, we've decided to come back to CTMP. It has nothing to do with not wanting to be at Toronto. It has everything to do with coming back to, I call it MASsport, CTMP. So I'm looking forward to it. The whole team is looking forward to it. Our sponsors and partners are looking forward to being back. And so I don't know how to comment on your 2016 question, but I will say that absolutely, unequivocally, that we're all looking forward to being back and seeing the crazy fans at MASsport, as I say,
Yeah, well, the reason I pointed that
out... You guys are the best, by the way, absolutely. I've never met a more fanatical bunch of fans than at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park.
Hey, we're hardcore, man. That's what we do. But no, part of the reason I asked that as well was not just the IndyCar move, but also because you guys probably know they had a change of ownership at the track about a year and a half ago. Ron Fellows is now one of the co-owners of the facility. And, I mean, he's got a long history in World Challenge. I don't know if he ever won a title there, but I know he won races. So part of me was just wondering, is this a long-time deal? And it sounds like you guys really enjoy the place. So note to self, make sure get everybody I know to get up there and watch some racing.
Hey, Greg, you want to take over?
Well, I think, and thank you for that, Scott, and we are excited about coming back to the track, and it was we did kind of what I called, and Jeff Carter and I, looked at it, and Jeff Lepper actually was on the track racing in the TCB car for charity. We had a great time this last Victoria Day weekend, and called Scott Beauvais because he wasn't able to attend, and he said, well, what's it like? And what's it like since the remodel? And, how's it working with Ron? And, we just walked through, and everything was a thumbs up. And every aspect of it was good. And I think, again, it speaks to, you asked about, does it tie to IndyCar? It really doesn't. It's about the fact that, we're there because, as Scott noted, it's our largest form of fan mail, and frankly, the most rabid fans. I do think certain fans in the States are good, and they're very passionate about, like we talked about, Lime Rock or the Northeast, and everybody's got a, VIR. They'll all name their favorite track they'd like you to come back to. Although I have to say, no one's ever asked me about coming to Fontana. But that being said, just saying. But CTM, CTMP,
Hey, Greg, can I chime in? Just from a historical sense, this Victoria Day weekend has been a long-standing World Challenge weekend. I don't have the dates in front of me, but
is this Peter Cunningham talking?
It does sound like it.
Sorry, I didn't identify myself, but this was a very traditional weekend, the Victoria Day weekend, so it is very exciting to go back there. And, I saw some people talking about, it may be snowing, blah, blah, blah. While it's true that it's been pretty cold on occasion there, oftentimes it's, 20 feet. So, there you go.
I can attest to that fact because I live 20 minutes away, and there have been times when I've been there in shorts and T-shirts and still baking, and other times where it's been about 5 degrees above zero for the Trans Am cars. It's like, oh, my God, what am I doing here? But, yeah, I can attest to that.
So we're looking forward to going.
What a great track. What a great event. Spectacular fans. How can we not find a way to put CTMP on the schedule? And I mentioned earlier that part of the issue that every series goes through is how do you whittle down a list of 20 or 16 or 15 events down to 8 or 9 or 10. It's challenging, and all of them are great. So it's like, do you want Miss October or do you want Miss November? They're all hot-looking girls. So how do you decide? So every single event is a great event, and I'm glad we're going back.
Well, thanks for the answer, guys, because that was the one I wanted to bring up to you guys. The endurance question was the other one, and that's already been mentioned by Scott. So, but it's going to be great to see you guys back up there again, especially if you're bringing 100 cars or something like that and got 3 races to run. Well, I mean, that's a whole weekend right there. I mean, Trans Am is on a rebirth, but you guys are going to be the stars of the show up there, and I don't doubt you're going to have a whole lot of people there watching, like, whoa, what are all these guys? Because lots of there's been much more fans, in my experience, going to the track in the last couple of years, just since Canadian Tire started their deal with it. And I just think you guys are going to come up next year. You're going to be like, holy, where are all these people coming from? Just like
Peter Cunningham has free beer and wine every night after 5. So all you guys, make sure you head down to Peter's paddock.
I wouldn't make that quest. Trust me, this is Canada. We will clean him out. All right, we will empty his pockets if you offer that.
Wow, hear that, Peter? They're going to empty your pockets.
Hey,
all right, we'll bring reinforcements.
Please do.
Hey, we have Peter has all the Bud Light you can drink.
Oh, God, Bud Light? Really? That's the best you guys got? Note to self, bring some real beer to the track.
Yeah.
Bring you some
milk. Well, once again, thank you so much for that question. And just as a reminder to everybody that is listening in, one of the biggest reasons for Pro World Challenge not returning to Toronto this year was the Pan America Games are on the weekend that traditionally is the Honda Indy race. So that schedule had to be changed, and it's that delicate Rubik's Cube that Scott Beauvais has talked about, having to move races around and try to do stuff and put 3 races in a row back-to-back if we were to try to do a Toronto race. So it's good that we were able to fill in at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, bring in the entire program, including the GT cars, the new GT Cup class, and GTS, because of the Canadian fans and what you guys bring to Pro World Challenge. So I just want to say a big thank you to all the Canadian fans and everybody that's listening.
I'm glad you brought up the Rubik's Cube scenario there, Jeff Lepper. I'm surprised you remembered that. This is the first year that Greg Gill has been actively involved in the scheduling process. Last year, he only called me and he said, "How's it going?" And I would say, "It's going fine." I never really got, but this year he was pretty tuned in, and you get all the blues lined up, and what happens to the reds, Greg?
Yeah, they're 2 cubes out.
And so arranging a schedule is very, very challenging. But I think we've got a great schedule this year, and we're everybody is pretty pleased with it. So thanks.
Perfect. And questions, I don't have anybody else's name, so feel free to open the floor. Anybody has any questions, jump right in and identify yourself.
Hello, this is Timothy Mincy, Senior. How you doing?
Great.
Can you all hear?
Yep.
Okay, great. I'm a pretty prominent club racing level racer. I was the crew chief for Jason Cherry this year in TCA. I'm a new potential rookie driver in the Pirelli World Challenge Series. And TCA have had a card donated to me. We're hunting sponsorship aggressively. I guess this question is steered towards Dave Drimmie. Was asking if the sponsorship packages available for TCA and TCB would be available again this year. Really helps out when I'm hunting sponsorship to let them know that they have all the different items you guys offer between the credentials, the tickets, the tires, the rental light system, everything really helps out when we're hunting down sponsorship for a full season with Pirelli World Challenge.
Scott, do you want me to go ahead and grab that?
Yeah, I don't think Dave is here today, but Greg will take over. Greg?
So yes, the answer, and I saw this question coming up on one of the ones that was going to be asked tonight. So thank you for asking it, and it is a great value, and we're happy to do it. We will do like we've done in times past. We'll have a separate program for our TC drivers, and we'll go through those benefits. And actually, Scott and I were having a conversation. We'll be finishing it tomorrow on how that'll be dialed in, and look for it on the website like it was set up last year on the same tab. And we'll be posting that no later than next week. We'll have it out, and we'll present it as our annual SEMA meeting, too. So if you just want to email me, my website contact information is on the site, but it is greggill@wcvision.com, and we'll get you dialed in and make sure you're one of the first people signed up.
Oh, great. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Hey, Jeff. Thank you for that question, Tim. And it's great to see you at the track, and you had some great success with Jason Cherry coming into the series this year. So really appreciate you coming in that and all the families. And that's sort of the inside look into Pirelli World Challenge for what the series does for the drivers and the competitors as well. And once again, floor is open. Feel free to identify yourself and ask a question.
Hi, this is Dusty Michael calling from Indiana, and I'm not exactly sure who I direct this to, but I was just curious. You guys mentioned that you were I guess, getting on top of the ball already, even looking into 2016 a little bit. I know dates and different venues like that probably aren't set up yet, but IMSA, with them announcing that they're doing the GT3 thing in 2016, is that something that you guys are concerned about, trying to schedule dates so that you wouldn't possibly have overlaps, or do you feel, I guess GT3 is kind of going through sort of an explosion right now, at least in the States. Is there a possibility that market could become saturated and it becomes more of a competition, or is that something that you guys are looking into?
It's a great question from Indiana. This is Scott Bove. I'll field that. I believe and have always believed that the GT3 format is the right format. The manufacturers believe it's the right format. From an oversaturation standpoint, I don't believe that's an issue. When you've got manufacturers who are building cars, looking to sell cars, to customer-based programs and factory-based programs, all of it makes sense because for a single team to build a car and engineer a car, it takes a huge amount of engineering resources. So I don't see the GT3 format being something of the past. I think it's something of the future. Regarding our schedule, one of the things that I bring up to Jeff and Greg regularly is the reason why a race car has a bigger windshield than a rearview mirror is you should always look forward. We don't look back. We don't spend a whole lot of time looking at whether WEC is going to be at this event or this weekend, or IndyCar is going to be here at this event, or Tudor is going to be here. We develop our schedule for what we feel is the right schedule for our teams, sponsors, and drivers, and fans, and customer base, and we don't necessarily take anything into effect outside of our own concerns on TV, our own concerns on our own issues. So there may be some overlaps. Usually there's only one or two overlaps, but we don't take overlaps into effect when we develop our schedule. But it's a great question, and I appreciate your thought basis there.
Well, thank you, Scott and Matt. And once again, the floor is still open, so please, once again, just identify yourself, please, and ask your question. And it looks like that is all the questions. We've been on here for about an hour and 26 minutes, an hour and 15 on the call. I think a good point here that we can go ahead and thank everyone for coming in. Once again, I want to give a huge thank you to Matt Kistler at NASportscar.com. Thank you to all the callers, and thank you to everybody that submitted a question. And another huge thank you to Peter Cunningham and Johnny O'Connell, competitors in our GT category of the Pirelli World Challenge Series. 10 Pirelli World Challenge Championships between these two drivers. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you to Scott Beauvais, President and CEO of Pirelli World Challenge, Greg Gill, our Vice President of Marketing and Communications, and Jeff Carter, our Competition Director, for joining in. My name is Jeff Lepper. Hopefully we'll do this again. Make sure you tune in to worldchallengetv.com for the live stream coverage, and also tune in. And actually, I'm not going to say goodbye. I have a question, because Scott Beauvais announced that we have a broadcast that we're going to be doubling the coverage. Any insight into our broadcast for 2015?
Well, we're looking for some new people to announce the race. Do you have any good ideas? Any good people?
Yeah. That's what I was going to say. Yeah, new talent. Anybody that wants to jump in.
Do you have any ideas on some good talent?
You're saying that with the existing talent on the line? Come on.
We will be announcing our TV. All kidding aside, Jeff, you have done an awesome job, and I appreciate everything you've done for the business. We will be announcing our 2015 4-year contract at the SEMA show at our meeting, and Greg Gill has worked long hours to get this deal done, and I appreciate everything he's done for the business. So we're looking forward to our Sport Network package. We're looking forward to the announcements we'll be making at the SEMA show, and rest assured, no one will be disappointed.
Perfect. And also make sure that you can tune in and re-air. This entire broadcast will be posted to YouTube, and I'm sure that Matt Kistler at NASportscar.com will forward that to everyone. And you can also find this interview as well at world-challenge.com. Once again, thank you, everyone.
Jeff Lepper, if I could, a special thanks to Peter Cunningham and Johnny O'Connell. The rest of us do this all the time. We put a lot of hours in, but for Peter and Johnny to carve out an hour and a half of their time, I really do appreciate it. Thank you very much.
You bet, Scott. Glad to be here.
We got a great product.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, Peter.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks, Matt.
We really thank you guys so much, and that gives us that. And thank you so much to Matt, and thank you to everybody for calling in. And we will try to do this again. And thank you so much for coming out. And make sure you tune in for all of us. For Jeff Lepper, Greg Gill, Scott Beauvais, Peter Cunningham, Jeff Carter, and Johnny O'Connell, we'll see you at the races.
You will.
Thank you all.
Thanks, everybody.